Hi everyone, welcome back to Mindful Minute. Today I wanted to talk to you all about some self-care tips and kind of go through the ones that work for me and share some advice for how to get started with, just going about these things. If you haven't seen my last episode, which was the first episode, I highly recommend that you check that one out first because some of the things that were mentioned in there briefly will be discussed here today. So watch that one and come back and listen to this one. Okay, so as I mentioned in the last episode, I started using Headspace about 2 years ago, so back in 2019, maybe closer to 2020. Oh, 2020, what a year. And I really liked it. I felt like having, doing those meditations, it's going to sound really cliche, but it really did help me to feel centered. As someone who is very anxious about a lot of things, like I kind of mentioned in the last episode, I'm sure that I have some form of anxiety, just not to the extent that like it's, I don't really know how to describe that, but and I've never been like diagnosed for it, but but I overthink everything and I doubt myself over everything. So doing those meditations really helped me to figure out like, okay, my day isn't as crappy as I thought it was going to be, or the morning did go by really smoothly and I didn't really stress about much. And being someone who's blind, you really have to like organize your day. And so this is a question that I will leave you guys with for this week. And you can think about this and, figure it out for yourselves individually. I was talking to my counselors. We were doing like this group thing with a bunch of other girls. And, we were all saying like, why is it in the morning when we get up, we are always so aggravated to like go to work or to go to school or just to get up and like start the day. We're just like, I don't want to do this. Like, and so that really made me think about like what makes us this way? Like why do we have this like sour attitude to starting our day? And that's the question you guys can think about for the rest of the week, or just in general, because I think that it's important to like figure out like, okay, what can I do in my morning to help my day go by smoothly or make it a little less stressful for me, right? So for me, waking up and like I said, like preparing for the whole day or just figuring things out for myself took so much more time. So I would wake up and I would have to give myself extra time to just do things. And it wasn't because, I had to, but it's because like for me, having that time set aside where I have everything kind of set in its own thing really helped me. So I noticed that for me, like getting up, I would be like, I don't want to do this thing. And then I was like, well, why don't I want to do this thing? And then it was like, because I know I have so much other things to worry about and I don't want to think about, organizing things and like really, you really have to be on top of everything and be extra alert, especially for me and like my other blind and low vision friends. And so that was the one factor, I think. And also just like issues I was having with other things with school or, whatever was going on. And so I started doing those meditations. I would wake up, I would get out of bed because I was like forcing myself, especially when it was like cold. I would be like, okay, I don't want to get out of this bed because I'm warm. But at the same time, like I knew that doing those meditations would kind of help the day to be a little bit better. So I would get out of bed, make my bed, do all those things, shower and everything, get ready. And then I would sit down in the living room on the couch and I would turn on Headspace and do my meditation. And I really felt like it really did help me to feel less tension. And I didn't do this as regularly as I wanted to. And that's the thing that I will say for for especially for today's episode is a lot of these things, we're not going to want to do these things. You kind of have to like push yourself to do these things because obviously like that's another thing that you have to do, but at the same time like it's something that you're doing for yourself, right? So I had to like push myself to say, no, you have to do these meditations even if you don't want to. And I would do a morning meditation and I would do a nighttime meditation to help myself fall asleep, because I really do sometimes have issues like falling asleep, or not even just falling asleep, because trust me, I can sleep like this, but staying asleep was my biggest thing. And so those would really be my thing. And so the first tip I will give you all is that's really helped me, and I've been doing this more often, especially for this year, because I know that for me, and maybe for you all too, going through your journey or whatever you're doing for yourself, again, so many things take so much of our time and energy, but if it's something that you need to do for yourself, find a way to make it enjoyable. Find a way for it to be something fun, and that isn't something that is stressful for you. So this first thing I will say that I've been doing more of, especially this past week or so, that we've been in 2021, I have been journaling more. So that would be the first tip I would give you all, is to journal. If you're sighted, it's very simple. You can always go to the dollar store and buy one of those journals with like a padlock on it. My aunt is so funny. I used to get one of those from her when I was little, and I was like, I can't see. And obviously like she knew, but I would just like doodle in it and like put random things. But for the sighted folks, I would say to definitely buy yourself like a physical book, because this is the thing with me. As someone who has, I use technology so much, I'm on my phone a lot just because my books are there, my meditation apps are there, my whatever, even my journal is on my iPad, which I wish that it wasn't this way, but this is the way that works for me at the moment, So if you are like me, where you don't really like being on your phone all day long, I think having a physical book is a really good way to just kind of, and this is what I would suggest you do, because this is what I've been trying to do for myself too. Put your room in a different room. Yep, that works. Put your phone in a different room, turn it on like silent or turn it off, and just go back in your room and sit down and just write. Because having a physical book, it really does kind of get you to like step away from everything that's going on social media, or from checking the notification the minute it comes in. And so that's something I've been trying to work on. Of course, I have my phone with me a lot because, again, all my apps are there. So I've been trying to actually get Braille books and actually download it onto this thing called a Braille note for the sighted people who are not sure what that is. And if you want to learn more about Braille, my YouTube channel is linked here to my podcast, so you can definitely check that out. I would say that would be the first thing. For everyone else who may be blind or low vision, I have found this really cool diary app, and it works really well, and it sends you notifications when you haven't written in it. So it's kind of it really is a good way to just be like, oh right, I forgot about this thing. Let me actually take the time, turn on Do Not Disturb, listen to some good music, or put on an essential oil diffuser, which I'm kind of skipping ahead because these are some of the tips I was going to talk about, but they all kind of go into each other, with each other. So I would say using apps, especially if you can't see, so you can't write in a notebook or in an actual journal, it helps me, especially because when school was in session and I was so busy, and I was like stressed, I would forget that I had this thing on my phone. So when the notifications would come in, most of the time I'd be like, oh right, let me actually like put everything aside and like write and just, vent out whatever I'm feeling. And a good thing about journaling is a lot of the time you don't always want to share your feelings with people. I have two amazing best friends. Actually, I have three amazing best friends, but two of them, we all kind of write in our little group. I do it more for like a creative type of thing, and that's what works for me. But I would say we all have been figuring out things that are going to work for ourselves, and so I really think that journaling is a good way to go. A lot of the time, you want to talk to someone, but sometimes you also are in the space where you're like, okay, this is like a major thing, but it's also not like a major thing that I really need help with like this instant. And so moments like that are a good time to sit back and say, let me actually write this out. Let me talk about it in my journal, save it, and, just kind of have it there. So journaling, highly recommend it. The second tip I will give you is therapy. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, I don't need therapy. Why would I need to go see a therapist? I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly happy. Nothing is wrong. I just get stressed out and I can deal with it. It's fine. I used to tell myself the same thing. I used to say, I don't need therapy. I have my best friends. I have my family. I have, I can always just go take a nap. And it turns out when I was saying these things, like that was when I kind of maybe needed therapy even more, because that's when I was like, when I actually sat down to like say, okay, what if I did do therapy? So like just reevaluating that thought, it helped me to say, yeah, therapy is not a bad thing the way people think it is. So many people have this idea that therapy is such a negative thing and that it isn't helpful and that, you'll get over it, to sweep it under the rug, which in my culture, I'm from Guyana, in my culture and a lot of other cultures, not just mine, I've come across a lot of people who feel the same way, but in my culture, so many people, especially in my family, I don't think mental health is like a big thing to them. Like it's not important to them. I don't think I've ever heard any of my cousins or anyone like my brothers say to our parents or our aunts or whoever, like, hey, yeah, I might be depressed, or I might have depression, or hey, I might have anxiety or whatever, because it's just not a conversation that happens. And so having a professional that is there to sit down with you and have a conversation about your feelings or about your thoughts or whatever's going on in your life is so crucial. Honestly, I think that everyone needs to go to therapy, because you don't have to always go there to talk about the really down and the sad things happening, but you can go and say, this week was really good, better than the last week, because you take it one day at a time and you say, this week I'm really happy and these are the goals that I accomplished this week, and I decided to treat myself. That's something I've been really telling myself too. It doesn't have to be an everyday thing, but it could even be like every Friday you order yourself pizza and you watch a good movie, or you buy yourself that thing that you've always been wanting because you know that you worked your butt off to get that thing and now you deserve to treat yourself. And so I think having counseling is so good for everyone. And for one of my best friends, I'm not going to share her full story because that is her story. But I will say that for her going through the things that she's been going through, her counselor and her kind of sat down and said, okay, what are the coping tips and strategies we can have in our tool bag, so when you are feeling like a panic attack is coming on, you know how to help yourself. Because it's true, you know how to help yourself as long as you have the advice, and going to therapy will give you that sense of like, okay, I know what I have to do now if I feel like an anxiety attack, a panic attack is coming on. And so my friend was telling me, she's like, before she used to meet with her counselor every week, once a week, but now they kind of narrowed it down to once a month, because at the same time, you want to go to therapy, and starting out, you're going to be like, oh, this is great. But also, the more that you get into therapy and just learning what works for you, you'll see like, I don't always need to go back to this person as like a sounding board. I can figure this out by myself. And if I really come to the point where I'm at a dead end and I don't know what to do, then I can turn to them and say, hey, what was that thing that we did? Or can you help me get through this situation? So that's what one of my best friends has been doing with her counselor. And I think that that's so good that they've come to an agreement where it's okay. Like, it's fine that you don't always need to have counseling, but when you need it, you know that it's there also. So definitely therapy is a good one. The next thing is very simple, and you kind of heard me mention it for the first thing. Buy yourself some essential oils and an essential oil diffuser. I can't tell you how many times when I would come home after a very stressful day at school, I would like lay in bed, I'd take a nap, I'd turn on my diffuser, and I have like lavender essential oils, and I'd listen to like calming music, and I would just like be in my own little vibe. That listen, until you try it, you have no idea. It's so good to just be in your own room, lock the door, and just like, and like I said with the journaling, that can also go into that. In that moment, turn on your essential oil diffuser, sit down, write in that journal, and just have your own time for yourself, because I think that that's so beneficial. Whenever you're like constantly rushing and you're constantly doing 1,000 things at the same time, interacting with people, listen, I'm very extroverted, but at the same time, I'm also introverted. I have introvert qualities, or whatever you want to call them. Because there's times where I'll be hanging out with family or friends, and if we're out in public or I'm at a party or something, after like the first hour or so, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go home and chill in my PJs and watch Netflix or Hulu or whatever I feel like watching. Because having that that me time is so crucial to just help yourself to like reevaluate things and really think about things that are going on that you really need to kind of get a grip on, or figure out like, is this thing really beneficial for me? And I think now more than ever, it's so important to have that time for yourself. So get an essential oil diffuser, and if you're not really a big fan of candles, I would say this is a good alternative, because you can get like a set on Amazon for like $10 or however many that you want, and just use different ones throughout the day. Usually I actually have to get a new one, but usually throughout the day I like to put on like a lemon scent, because they say like different ones kind of bring different things in for you. So I think like lemon is like energy, lavender is like calm and sleep. So do your research, guys, and just kind of figure out what scents you like and that would work for you. The next thing I will say is just kind of having a support system, honestly. Like I mentioned before, I don't talk about mental health with a lot of people in my family, or really anybody in my family for that matter. And so I think now it's important for me to sit down with my mom and say, have you ever wondered why I'm always doubting myself? Or, this is the reason why I doubt myself. Or, hey, I'd really like to get a therapist that's not at my school. And it's so good to have people in your corner when you are going through things, or just when you're on a different journey and you're trying to work on yourself, because there's going to be days where you feel really discouraged. There's going to be days where you just want to throw in the towel and say, forget it, I'm not doing this thing anymore, I don't really need to work on myself. Because again, so much of it takes energy and time, but once you put in that time and you really like focus your energy on that thing, it's so good to have those tools for yourself. Having a group of people or one person, it could even just be one person, whether it's your mom, your brothers, your sisters, or your aunt, or whoever, your uncle, whoever it is that you know that you can be like comfortable and okay with having conversations with. Those are the people that you want in your corner when you're going through things that sometimes, as they say, sometimes it's hard to explain things to people when you don't really understand what's going on for yourself, so having people. And luckily, my brothers are so they're so supportive. And so a lot of the time, like, I've been scared to say, this is how I feel about X, Y, and Z. But the minute that I would sit down and actually, I first started out by like writing things out to one of my brothers, and then we would have a conversation about it, because I did feel so much more comfortable actually writing it out, because sometimes, again, I don't know how to actually format the words face to face with him and say, this is how I feel, or this is the thing that I've been going through that I'm really stressed about. And so once I wrote out my feelings and sent it to him, I was just like, don't judge me, because that's another thing. You don't want to be judged when you're trying to explain how you feel. And I was like, just please don't judge me. And I kind of just explained it in the writing, and then we would talk about it. And it made me feel so much better knowing, like, okay, I spoke about this thing. I don't really have to think about it as much as I was before. And so I would say definitely having people in your corner is so beneficial. I will say the next tip I will give you, which is probably, a few kind of tied into one, is just kind of getting out the house. A lot of the time, especially now in COVID times, we are all stuck in our houses. We're going crazy trying to figure out what we can do, because so many of us are so bored. And that's part of the reason why I started this podcast again, because also it's not just for my school, but at the same time, it gives me something else to do while I'm here at home. And, just getting out the house, even if it's just for like an hour, to just go take a walk, or to go get Starbucks around the block, or to go catch up with a friend and do like a social distance meetup type of thing. Getting out the house helps you to kind of say, okay, I'm out of my head now, and I'm out of my house, so I don't want to, think about this thing that I'm stressed over. I just want to take a walk, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and, kind of be in my own have my own little vibe going on. And I think that that's so important. And one thing I think with my mom now is, before, I don't think she really saw that for me getting out of the house, it's not just because I'm bored, but also I'm usually stuck in the house all week anyways because of school and just other things. And so she would say, like, let's go somewhere, like, where do you want to go? And that's been helpful for me to just not think about the problems that I'm dealing with. And again, it's not about not thinking about them, because you are still going to think about them, but it's a temporary thing that will let you really get some fresh air when, especially, okay, this is crucial right here, especially if you are having a panic attack. Okay, listen, I've been on the verge of tears. I've even bursted into tears on the phone with my best friends. And I've had panic attacks on the phone with all of them. And I can't tell you, like, the minute I would get out of my house, I felt like, okay, I took a deep breath and I said, I need to just get some fresh air, and I need to just take a walk, and I don't want to talk about this thing with whoever. I just need to, listen to some music and do what I need to do. When you know you're about to have a panic attack, get out the house, go take a walk, get some fresh air, and, obviously social distance if you're meeting up with a friend or wherever you're going, and wear your mask because, hello, COVID. We're still in COVID times. And just, this is the thing. I think a lot of people, and this is what I've been telling myself too, because my friends and I have been having, like I said, we have these deep conversations, and it's like, for me, I have these expectations and standards, and I beat myself up so much over them, because when I don't meet those expectations, I'm like, you're a failure. And I say to myself, like, you didn't just fail yourself, you failed your family, because I know to my family, I see, like, and I know that maybe they have their own expectations for me. So when I don't meet any expectation, whether it's my own personal thing or something else that someone else has for me, I feel like I let people down. And so my best friend and I were talking the other day, and she was saying, you need to be kinder to yourself, because they know so much more about the times where I would call them and I'd be like, I'm such a failure. And another thing that we do in my group of friends, is we would say, I'm sorry for putting all of this bull crap on you that I just went through. And now we've kind of just been saying, like, no, you don't say sorry for your feelings. You're allowed to feel however you feel. Your feelings are valid, and you don't need to apologize for them. But another thing for me is feeling like a burden, especially because of my disability, because oftentimes when I do really need help, I don't like reaching out to people. And whether that's even like family related, I don't like saying, hey, can you help me with this thing? And so if you want to hear more about like what that's like for me and like my social anxieties, my YouTube is linked here to the podcast. So if you want to hear more about that, definitely check that out. It's up there. So, just these are some of the things that I will leave you guys with for today and for the rest of the week. And as you kind of progress throughout your own individual journey, because we're all learning together. I'm still learning how to do things and, my own coping things for myself. So I wish you guys all the best of luck, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.